Your Excellency, Madam Waiguru, the county governments are at an average of 45% wage bill to revenue ratio, according to the financial year 2022-2023. As you serve your last term as governor, what is your parting shot on matters productivity and the wage bill target of 35% in county governments?
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I think it's very interesting, the conversation about the wage bill and what it is that we can do. And I think as a nation, it has come at the right time. Indeed, the county governments at the moment are at about 42, an average of 42%. That means that there are those with a lot higher, and then there are those who with a lot less, closer to 35. But I would like, before even we discuss in broad terms and maybe make proposals, bring us into perspective as to why the wage bill of the county government has been growing. And I think this has been discussed in the last 2 days here. Just from statistics alone, if you look at health facilities, we started with 8,466 health facilities in 2013. We are now at 16,655. Doctors were at 874. We are now at 4,398. Nurses were at 6,620. We are at 31,923. Extension officers were 1,725, and we are right now at 8,078. And now we have started the UHC program. We are going to increase and include our CHPs into the wage bill. And therefore, with all that and the payments for NSSF and all, this is very critical that we have this conversation of how do we achieve all this, because the things that I have mentioned are indeed critical. And not to mention that we also inherited mostly on the county's side bloated public services from the defunct local authorities, and those people being protected under the permanent and pensionable. So even if you were to do your restructuring, you would not be able to move them. So you have to increase for critical services that are devolved, and at the same time be able to maintain the current staff that you have. The other very critical issue is that revenues to counties has not been increasing in the commensurate manner. For all the functions that we have, if you look at where our revenues are pegged, they are pegged on audited accounts of maybe 3 years or so behind, as compared to 3 to 2 years behind, as opposed to the current year that has just passed, where the percentage of revenue going to counties will be a little higher. If the percentage of the revenue to counties was higher, and if counties put measures in place to increase their revenue allocation, they would be able to lower the average, the wage bill average per county. But this is one issue that we cannot skirt around. I think we need to have a conversation about functions and resources following those functions. And then, as Chair of SRC has said, maybe we need to look also at our structures and see how they are populated and how do we deal with the issue of rationalizing those structures so that you have critical staff that are required for the critical services that counties are supposed to implement, the functions that counties are supposed to implement. Now, on the issue of my parting shot, what is it that I would say? I think this country needs to look very deeply, introspectively within. Many times we come to conferences and have conversations about what we need to do, but when we go to implement, we implement for the first 6 months or so, and then the resolutions fall by the wayside. A culture of accountability, as has been said, is critical. And those in the public service who have been given the privilege to serve in the public service have to answer that very critical question that has been asked by Moses Kuria. Are we supposed to be spending our resources on unproductive activities as opposed to resources for development, and what is this amount of money that we should cap and say, whether we are a county government or at the national government, what is this figure? And that figure has been said. We have a target right now of 35, but is that the ideal? And finally, inculcating a culture of productivity. I will say in this panel, Your Excellency, if we checked the productivity of the staff, both at national and county level, and especially the middle to lower cadre, you will find that the productivity is very low, because you will find one job that can be done by one person is probably being carried out by 3-4 people. But this is a very sensitive conversation when you're talking about a country where everybody is aspiring to join this public service. Maybe we need to deculturalize our people and change the perspective of our people, so that we are not all looking to join the public service, and as Chair mentioned, maybe start focusing more on the private sector and informal sectors. And finally, once we set up the structures, once we have them running, maintaining those structures and holding those in leadership accountable, and for us, mentoring, coaching, and passing the skills to younger people so that they understand where we came from when we came to this decision, so that we are not rolling back the gains that we have had. Thank you.
Very well put, Madam Waiguru. Thank you so much for that comment, which flowed very well with discussions we have had, Your Excellency, with the former Head of Public Service, Budara, and Oginde, on leadership, sir.